Okay, so this video is about transforming the Students' Union website, UWSU.com, the reasons and the kind of thinking behind this and why we need to do it. So just as a background, central to the Union's strategy this year has been to build or rebuild community at the University of Westminster. We have 5 sites, 4 in central London, 1 in Harrow. At each of those sites there's different schools, different courses, and as a result we have very different types of students. So it doesn't make sense as a union to ever have a central physical community. So part of that strategy has been to devolve the Students' Union in terms of opening up sites or offices, at each of the different sites in order to create micro communities there. The second part of that strategy is to build a virtual community. And a virtual community is not that abstract an idea to students coming through now to the University of Westminster, because this is something that they've grown up with. They play computer games, they speak to their friends online, and virtual interaction is something which is second nature to them. So first of all, the concept originally came from when we were launching Smoke TV. In order for Smoke TV to be successful as an online channel for students at the University of Westminster, we needed a platform or a site which was able to handle multimedia content, and not just handle multimedia content but also organise it in an aesthetically pleasing way and a way in which users would be able to interact with that content, similar to obviously YouTube but in Student Union tailored version. Our current website, uwsu.com, which is hosted by BAM, is very limited in its functionality. By this I mean the content management system that we use doesn't really allow us to edit much of the page, to change the layout. It doesn't allow for interactivity with the user, so it's very difficult for users to comment or to share what their views on social media and link people to our content. I'll just briefly pull that up on the screen now and show you that. So if I just log in first of all. Okay, so this is the back end of the website. If I just click on one of the pages here, it's the editing window, or the back end of the content management system. What we can do here is we can change the text. We can add images, we can even add video if we want to. We can change the colour of the text, etc. But there's no real customization. And by that I mean we can't add interactive features, so we can't encourage users to comment on our posts. We can't encourage users to share it to their Twitter or to their Facebook account. So it's a real struggle to build a virtual community when our website is not allowing students to share and to interact what they're viewing with other students. If I just show you an example of what I mean, if we click on the BBC News website, you can see on a typical story here, you can watch the video, you can read more about it, you can comment on the story, you can share it to Facebook, to Twitter, you can email it to your friends. There's multiple ways in which reading the story on this page, you're then able to pass it on to friends, to fellow students, family, whoever it may be. That functionality is lacking in our website, and that functionality is lacking in general in providers who create websites for student unions. So I think one of the reasons we need to go with a digital company outside of that is to create a website which is away from the norm and is following the internet trends as opposed to just following trends within student unions. So if I just briefly show you what I mean by that, if we look on a Warwick Student Union website, this is provided by MSL, which is one of the other major providers alongside BAM. This website, whilst it's perfectly good, the design's okay, it's just text on a screen. There may be some images, there may be some videos embedded somewhere, but there's nowhere to really interact with the content. There's nowhere to share the content. And if we go back to the BBC website, again, I'll just highlight that. You can see it's interactive, there's videos there, there's places to share the content, and that's really what we're aiming for. In order to create an online community, you have to allow your users to be able to interact with your content and to feel like, you know, they have part ownership in it, they can share it with their friends or their classmates or whatnot. And I think that's one of the reasons behind going with the Reading Room, is that they're the provider who are able to deliver on this, and they understand social media. So you might be asking the question, how do we know this is going to work? We invest so much money into this project and students still continue to use the site at the rate at which they are currently. They don't really engage, and it fails to build the virtual community as promised. Well, if we just take a look at the insights on our Facebook page here, we can see that for about the past 90 days or so, if I scroll down, you can see that we've had a substantial increase in our total daily reach. How we've done this is we've created content which is community driven. It encourages students to engage with us, and what we've found is a general upward trend over the last 90 days, and more recently where we've really tried to hit home on this, of students actually wanting to participate. Now if I click onto the wall here, I'll show you an example of this. Just going to scroll down and show you some of the best examples. So if you see here, a typical post now will encourage students to communicate with us, and you can see this has got 4 comments here. If we scroll up, you know, we've had 30 students interacting, asking them to click like. We're running competitions which are more interactive in nature, as you can see here. Also, if I click on one of the tabs, for example, we're running a competition branded under Smoke TV, where we're encouraging students to actually engage and upload video content to us. In doing so, we're offering an incentive, but it's all part of a drive to create that sense of community and feel so that students, you know, feel a part of the University of Westminster. If you notice this stat here, we've got 327 people currently talking about the UWSU website. Now, if I go on to a comparator, let's look at, well, the University of Westminster's Facebook page first of all. You can see that they've got substantially more likes than us, but there's only as many people talking about that site daily and sharing things from it and interacting with it as there is on the Student Union website, which is, you know, an indicator of, you know, our degree of success that we've had in doing this so far. If I then compare it with, for example, King's College, we take a look at their Facebook page. Again, they've got substantially more likes at the moment, but far less people are actually talking about their Facebook page. What that means in social media terms and for the web these days, if less people are talking about your page, it in a sense becomes invisible, because Facebook works by people obviously interacting with a post, liking something, commenting on something, and then that impresses onto someone else's wall, and that then increases the visibility of your page. So the real stat you want to look out for is how many people are talking about your site. Again, I'll show you another example. We look on UCL. Again, substantially more likes, but far fewer people interacting with their site. And you know, these are large institutions in central London, which, you know, UCL, for example, has a stronger student community than we do, but virtually they still have far less people interacting. I think that's a sign that as long as we continue to employ these methods and we continue to develop them, we will see the results. And we can't develop until we invest in a website where we are able to customize it and are able to fully integrate with social media. Now, one of the other aspects I wanted to talk about, and I won't go on for too much longer because I'm conscious that we're about 10 minutes in already, is, you know, the general features of the site. If we take a look here on Gumtree.com, that I hope most people are familiar with, they have a posting board so that people are able to advertise rooms, books, jobs, whatever it may be. One of the key features of the new website that we'll be asking to integrate into it is an interactive board for students, so that housing rooms can be posted on there. They can post their books to be resold to other students. They can, even sell old laptops that they don't want to other students. We believe this will be a great feature because, unlike a student who's new to London and may need a room and may decide to visit Gumtree to rent that room, that they don't always know who may be renting the room. For example, they go onto a housing board which is put on there by the University of Westminster Students' Union. It's a trusted site. It's their own university. They can feel safer and more comfortable that they'll be renting a property with fellow students, and also the benefits of being able to resell their books and whatnot are there for all to see. I think one of the other things we really wanted the website to do was to be democratically responsive, and by that I mean having like Google do. For example, at Halloween, Google will change the look of the search engine. At Christmas, Google will change the look of their search engine. Our website would adapt and change based on what's popular at that time of year. So if our members are all searching for discounts, a large part of the homepage will focus on student discounts and make that accessible to them. At the same time, if lots of our members are looking up study skills videos or how to join a sports club, that will then become part of the homepage. So our website will become democratically responsive to what the students at Westminster are accessing it for at that particular time. I think that'll be a cool feature that will have students coming back to the site rather than having to click through endless menus trying to find what it is they need. They can access the site, it's there, and I think that will improve people coming back to the site. One of the fundamental reasons as well for changing the website and going with a provider that we're able to have more creative control with is the fact that our bounce rate, and by bounce rate I mean the amount of people who access your website and then don't go beyond the homepage, who leave before clicking on any links, is currently at 56%, which is very high considering people who visit our site are a targeted audience. They're students at Westminster. They should be going there and there should be useful information for them to click on. Clearly at the moment, with that bounce rate being so high, students are somewhat put off by our website, and that's again one of the reasons why we really need to drastically overhaul our current Student Union website. Also be including the obvious, so people will be able to get their sports memberships online. They'll be able to buy Student Union merchandise, Westminster merchandise online through e-commerce and e-shops. One of the other kind of last aspects of the site I wanted to talk about was multimedia content and the use of video. Since Smoke TV and since generating a lot of video content, we found that students have engaged with us much more. Take a look at the last two Smoke News shows. You can see that the viewership is growing. The last shows, had nearly 600 views, and it's only been a week since the release. And we found that by creating the message in a video context, and students are obviously used to video now with the explosion of YouTube and online television, we've been able to reach and engage with far more people than we would have done through using simple text and on our site. So multimedia content is really at the heart of this, and obviously Smoke TV, Smoke Radio, audio and video platforms, and creating engaging content for students rather than simply in the written word. We're using technology to really drive the union forward. If you can look at Hootsuite here, we can find out who our members are before they even come to Westminster. We can find out what's popular or what's trending with them this week. So again, we can be democratically responsive to our members. We can make sure we're current in everything we do. And I think if we invest in this website, we'll be at the forefront of student unions, and we'll be using technology to drive us forward. And improve the union in the future. What we don't want to do is to stagnate and to fall behind and just to replicate what other universities are doing. The Reading Room has a proven track record of delivering websites for major institutions, for major companies, and I feel that we can trust them in their ability to deliver this project to the cost and on time.